And we are at 4:30. All right. We'll call the meeting to order. We're going to start with a pledge of allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join us in a moment of silence. Thank you. And I need to silence my cell phone before we start. Got to set the example, right? All right. Moving on, we're going to start with citizen concerns, item 1 on the agenda. Anyone have a concern that is not already on the agenda? All right, moving on to the approval of the agenda. I'll move it.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by DeWitt. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And that passes 5-0. Moving on to the consent agenda. Items 4 through 7 constitute a consent agenda of routine action items to be considered by one motion. Items pass unanimously unless a separate vote is requested by a board member. Item.
Minutes have been, there was a mistake in minutes, so you have a corrected version in front of you.
Oh, I wondered where that came from. All right, so approval of the minutes of the September 24th, 2019 meeting as now correctly put in front of us. Item 4, approval of claims. Item 5 from Board Administration, approval of resolution of abatement of taxes for Apostolic Assembly of the Faith in Christ Jesus. And 6, Human Resources. A, approval memorandum of personnel transactions. B, authorization to initiate hiring process. C, approval for the renewal of employee and family resources as our EAP provider. 7A, secondary roads. Approve the permit to work in right-of-way for the City of Sloan. B, approve the permit to work in right-of-way for the City of Cushing. And C, approve the permit to work in the right-of-way for Barker Lamar Engineering. That is the end of the consent agenda. I will go ahead and move it.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by Taylor. Any discussion or the items to? All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That passes 5-0. Moving on to item 8. Here, I might take one of those back there. I signed one. Do you want to sign this one too, Rocky?
Sure. You should all sign the same one, probably.
Probably. Item 8, Council on Sexual Assault and Domestic Violence. I'm going to mess up that name. Denise? Let's see, approval of and presentation of proclamation for Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Here we can get a couple more signatures there. You can come right up here and I'll read it for you. Oh, just go right to the podium and I'll meet you there. Do you need this for the record, or does she get this one? You need this one, okay. I'm going to read it to you, but we got to keep it. All right. All right, so it's a proclamation, whereas domestic violence is a serious crime affecting individuals and families in all Siouxland communities, all races, ages, income levels, lifestyles, and sexes, and in fact is probably affecting someone you know, and every 9 seconds someone experiences the crime of domestic violence. And whereas 1 in 3 women will be a victim of violence in her lifetime, domestic violence violates the individual's human rights by destroying dignity, security, and self-worth due to the systemic use of physical, emotional, sexual, psychological, and economic control or abuse. CSADV works every day to help end these acts of violence and help rebuild the lives of the survivors. And whereas in Siouxland, the Council on Sexual Assault and Domestic Violence is available 24 hours a day, and last year responded to nearly 2,000 victims provided 11,026 nights of shelter to 413 adults and 305 children fleeing domestic abuse. And despite high census, no one in an unsafe situation was turned away. And whereas the impact of domestic violence affects all the members of the community, and only a coordinated community response will put a stop to these atrocious crimes and assure funding is continuously available to provide these life-saving services. And now, therefore, I, Keith Raddick, Chairman, on behalf of the Woodbury County Board of Supervisors, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2019 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Thank you, and anything you'd like to say or point out anybody with you here today, feel free.
I just want to say that there's my co-workers and advocates that we work together to help any victim survivors out there searching for any help. Like the commission said, we did have the crisis line 24/7, so if anybody wish to call us, we're there, and our advocates are there to support any victim survivor, whether it be any family. And we're never going to be turned away if they're in a safe situation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess we got to vote on that, too. I'll move that.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by Taylor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes 5-0. Thank you. Yep. Item 9 from Community Economic Development, David Gleiser. A, receive the Zoning Commission's recommendation for their 9/23/19 meeting and approve the final plat.
Good evening, Supervisors. David Gleiser, Director of Community Economic Development Department. On September 23rd, the County Zoning Commission reviewed the final plat for the Kex Large Lots Edition. It's a minor it's a agricultural minor subdivision. The division of land is happening because of estate purposes. As always, all relevant stakeholders, agencies, departments were contacted. As of today, we haven't received any public input for or against it. On September 23rd, the Zoning Commission voted in favor to recommend approval to the board. Staff approval is to approve the final plat as proposed.
I will move that.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by DeWitt. Any other discussion?
I will make one note. I apologize for the typo in the backup material. All of these parcels, which are located in the Rutland Township, which is a little northeast of Mobile area, 130th and Jewel, they are actually zoned agricultural preservation, not agricultural estates. It's a typo.
All right. Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes 5-0.
I apologize. That was to receive the
Receive.
zoning? Okay.
Yep. And then item B is approve the Kex Large Lots Edition minor subdivision plat and authorize chairman to sign the resolution. So this is approve and authorize.
I'll move approval.
I will second that. So motion by DeWitt, second by Raddick. Any discussion on that? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to 10A, secondary roads. Consider approval of project agreement for Iowa DOT primary road project. A lot of sign here's on here.
It's for your signature.
All right.
They look upside down, but they're so you can get to the tabs. This agreement is for work that will be done on the Iowa 141 bridge near Smithland. It'll be done under traffic with stoplights controlling it. Well, they'll do half the deck at a time. But it will back up into the area where Bridge Street, which is partially a county road, comes out onto 141 in the southeast corner of Smithland. So the DOT has requested that we sign the project agreement. Read through it. It's no harm or expense to the county. I recommend approval of the agreement.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Ung, second by Raddick. Any questions for the engineer? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That passes 5-0.
This agreement requires that the auditor attest to it as well.
All right. So moving on to item 11, for the county auditor who gets a test. Item A, approval and receive a signature amendment to the Tyler contract.
So this amendment is related to the public information access to the general ledger information. Previously in our contract, we agreed to purchase something called Tyler Transparency. That product is being replaced with Socrata Open Finance. So this amendment does not change any of the agreement of the cost that was approved last June. You will notice, I sent this to the attorney, to Joshua to review. There is a section G that has been removed from the contract that'll be in your homework, but it's not in the contract for signature. Joshua, did you want to mention anything else on that contract?
They didn't make all the changes that we requested, and I think that we did the best we could as far as getting a better contract with the county, so I'm not, I'm okay with the proceeding to approval.
All right, go ahead.
Can I just ask, what is the overall user function that this serves?
This is-
What will it help as far as the public, without going into too great a level
This will
of detail?
just create, like, we'll have a link on the county website where individuals can go and they can drill down on the finances of the county. They can look to see what a department is spending, what our highest expenses are. They can really drill into the general ledger and all of the finance side of what the county's doing.
Pretty user friendly?
We don't have it all set up yet. From the demos that we've had, it is, yes.
All right, any other questions? All right, I'll go ahead and, let's see, move the approval and receive for signature? Move the approval of contract, that's right.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by Young. And no other questions? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? That passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. And so this one was not,
That's just one of the parts that Joshua reviewed there.
okay. Item B is approve a county seal to be used on county ballots. You want to put the explanation forward on that? I know it's in the homework, but
Yes, the legislature passed a bill this year that there's now law that they want the county auditor's signature removed from the ballots and replaced with the county seal. This happened late in the session, and nobody really bothered to read that section of the code that talks about the county seal, and the one that they referenced is a treasurer's seal, and it also talks about an impression seal. So nobody can really comply with that. The legislature is going. The Secretary of State's office has a commitment that they can that they are going to try to get this straightened out, but we need to put some sort of seal forward on the ballots in order to be compliant with at least a portion of the law. The portion that we can't comply with is that we would have to impress that seal on every ballot that was issued in the county. So it's just a design of it, and it meets the standards. Whether the T is a abbreviation for a treasurer, I don't think we're going to really get to any concerns raised about that at this point, but that's what we intend to use for the regular city and the school election this year, and then the Iowa legislature will address the issue next year. But this, the seal that is before you, is I took it over to the impression seal, which is hard to see, that we use in our office, had a wheat shock in the center of it, and the rest of it is the same there. So we just need your approval to put that on the ballots for this year.
sounds good. I will move that.
Second.
It's a truly riveting seal. But
Well, I didn't know if it was like symbolic, I don't know.
Of wheat.
Well, you know, wheat is picked from the field. A lot of times it's picked with pitchforks, and I hope our politicians aren't picked in the same way on the elections, so.
That was a stretch.
Okay. I'm sorry about that, but I will move it.
Second.
Okay, so motion by Raddick, second by DeWitt. Any other ill-timed jokes or discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Passes 5-0. Moving on to item 12, reports on committee meetings.
I do not know the date, but we do have a children's task force, children's mental health task force that's coming up. And so I'll pull that up shortly and I keep you on the edge of your seat. That is Thursday, October 3rd at 1 p.m. in Holstein. And so that's the second children's behavioral health meeting. So I'll report back findings from that. And other than that, I don't know.
Either you guys? All right, let's see. I had some, but I don't know if I got anything to report on it. Yeah, nothing really to report on. The meetings at the cities, did anyone get something out to the rest of the board on those, or our meetings with, like, kind of a rundown of the meetings with Sergeant Bluff or Sioux City?
I thought Larry had sent out a letter showing possibilities of joint ventures, such as shooting range possibility, vehicular, tear down station, things like that. And possibly land.
Okay.
But that didn't go to the whole board, correct?
No.
Okay,
So
so
that's something that we can,
that would be something to communicate that was a committee meeting. So in our meetings and discussions, areas where we could potentially share with either Sioux City or Sergeant Bluff, was discussed potentially a shooting range, indoor shooting range facility, the evidence vehicle tear down type facility, or maybe just other evidence type storage capacity.
how much have we talked that after those meetings? I'm trying to recollect. So, do you mind if I?
That was just last week, so,
Right.
yeah, I mean, it's hard to believe it was. Go ahead.
Well, two, I think, primary things that came out of it. One is that it's a game changer for Sioux City to be involved. If Sioux City's not involved and it's just Sergeant Bluff, that's not going to meet enough of the statute in order to be able to lower that bond threshold, by which we can go from 60 to 50%. So it has to be Sioux City that partners. And Sergeant Bluff can partner additionally, but if Sioux City doesn't at a minimum, then that doesn't meet the threshold and the requirements. So that's one. Chief Rex Mueller had said that he can't see putting personnel or who he would be moving that he would have that would be extraneous right now that would make sense to, let's say, go down to the airport. So we talked about different, vehicle tear down, evidence storage, shooting range, different things that didn't necessarily require personnel to be manning during that time. And then the other issue that came up was in terms of costs. They're obviously, the city of Sioux City is at a much higher percentage of their bond capacity, between 60 and 70%. We're much lower.
2,
Yeah.
3.
Right. So with that, I do think it would be helpful for us to look at not necessarily passing on the cost to them, because we have so much benefit, both in terms of the bonding threshold and otherwise. And they talked about land being the contribution. So if it was a $2 million parcel over 20 years, that could be their contribution at $100,000 a year. And so those were some of the discussions. I think that they moved closer to us when we talked about not having personnel there that would otherwise seem artificial to be put out there, as well as not having a cash outlay or bonding contribution other than the land acquisition that they might be able to do. So I'm not sure if that's.
I think it summarized it quite well.
Okay.
Who was on the city side? Yeah.
Chief.
Rex Mueller.
And Fire Chief Tom Everett.
But there wasn't really any synergies available with the fire department, so.
Does not having it manned still meet the requirement for partnership?
Well, because it would still be joint usage in that facility.
But I thought there were some things about having to have somebody
You're
there.
right initially, but I think that they've moved away from that as long as it was being utilized by personnel.
Because originally they said that had to be quote-unquote manned.
Right.
Because there, I mean, is a potential if we put an office for an attorney out there from the county's attorney's office, then the city attorney could also use that as well.
Yeah, that was another one.
So that was thrown out there.
So I think you're right, Marty, that was the initial thought, but I think if it's utilized by personnel enough, then it's not just, so here's evidence storage and it just sits there and gets dropped off, but, you know, the city attorney's office, those other things that it needs some preference.
All right, we'll move on to citizen concerns, round 2. Anything else from the agenda? Not from the agenda. Moving on to board concerns.
I will not be here next week. I'll be at the state police convention, but I plan on calling in.
Okay, so you plan on calling in, you were going to be gone, right?
I plan on calling in as well.
Okay.
So we'll be up with that little speaker together.
Yeah. I'll be in this one. You can take that one.
Okay.
So if I say all those
More room
opposed
that way.
real quick, then you guys will vote against everything next week. So. Rocky, did you have anything on the?
No, sir.
I did have one thing, and it's for training for Workforce Development Board. It's this October 3rd. I can't go as a CEO. I don't know if any of you guys could go. It would be in Storm Lake from noon to 4. David's also on the board, and I don't know if you got anything going on Wednesday, if he could maybe go. And all right. So if he's got nothing going, is that fine if I have him go in my stead? And all right. Sounds like it's good. With that, we're adjourned.